Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Coaching Done Well. My name is Shane Leaning, and I am joined by the brilliant Jim Thompson. Jim, how are you doing?
Shane, if I look at more disheveled than normal, which I probably was hard to characterize, I just came in from shoveling outside. We've got a bunch of snow, and most of the schools are closed today, and they say we're going to get a lot more. I don't live far from Lake Ontario, so we get this thing called lake effect snow. So we're in the throes of winter. It's cold and it's snowy, and next week it's gonna be even colder. So this is real winter in upstate New York. Now, Shane, do you get any snow down in Shanghai?
We don't get any snow here, but I'm curious. Jim, I'm not a snow expert. What is lake effect snow? I've never heard of that.
Well, you got these Great Lakes. I'm not far from Lake Ontario, and the winds come over them, and they create a lot more moisture. And I'm not a meteorologist, but at the beginning of the winter, what happens is the lakes are warm from the summer, and then this cold air comes, and sometimes it can create these crazy windstorms like Buffalo, New York. Buffalo sometimes, can have pretty mild winters, but now and then they get like blizzards, like 70, 80 inches of snow in 2 days because of this
Wow.
lake effect. So very temperamental. So, but we're used to it. The plows are out. I'm surprised the schools are closed, but I think they're thinking that they might not be able to get the kids home safely later this afternoon. Do they ever close the schools in Shanghai for weather at all?
Yes, they do, but it's usually for a typhoon out here. Like if it was for anything, it would be a typhoon day. But I tell you what, Jim, working in a school in China, I used to be down south where typhoon days were a lot more common, less common in Shanghai, but still they still happen. But it's funny because I remember the first time me and Emma experienced a typhoon day, and we were like, typhoon, like I mean, we're from Britain, like the weather is mild at best, right? So we were like terrified, like, what do we do? And so we were Googling on the internet, said, tape up your windows. So we put these crosses of tapes on our window. We did all the things, shut our curtains. We did all these different things. And it was blue sky, perfect, no breeze all day. Everyone for the typhoon day, all the schools were closed. Everyone was down at the pub, Jim. And there was us with all of our tape on our window.
Hit a typhoon with your sobriety that day.
Exactly. So now you always take it with a pinch of salt because it just shows how unpredictable the weather is, right? You just can't. You think this is happening, and you're not sure. So yeah, we get typhoon days, not snow days. But I learned something new with that lake snow, and I miss the snow actually. In Shanghai, we don't get it.
Well, I mean, I always love hearing about your climate and, your days in the UK. And when we have our international guest, what's going on there.
Mm,
Because we just have this wonderful international audience, don't we, Shane?
yes. Well, that's what I was just about to say. I was going to say, Jim, it's just me and you today, but actually we're not alone because I can already see that there are people online. Guess who's with us today? I can see her already as Ruth Barsby joining us, one of our wonderful regular listeners in. Ruth says it is definitely not snowing this end. I take it you're still in Thailand there, Ruth, or are you somewhere else? Somewhere else. Ruth says if you're in China, you need to go to Harbin for the best snow and ice. She's absolutely right about that. There is a lovely area in China called Harbin up north, and they have these big ice festivals. It's so cold. They do big sculptures. I think it's right about this time of year. Me and Emma have never been. We need to get up there before we leave China one day.
Hi to Ruth. I know she's a big fan of the show. We're just glad for her support and glad that she's with us today.
Absolutely. And welcome everyone who is tuning in. I can see we've got quite a few people tuning in on LinkedIn. Please send comments in if you are there, or maybe you're tuning in on Riverside with us or YouTube. Send us comments. We love to bring you into the show. It's always nice to share this space, with others. There we go. Emma, my wife, is tuning in. She says, for our first typhoon, we bulk bought wine, milk, and toilet roll. This is true. We did. We went the whole mile. We were very worried about these typhoons and very naive. But But hey, we've also got a prior guest on the line as well, Jim. We've got Jason Booton saying happy new reflections, Jim and Shane. I
Wonderful to
love
see
that. Happy
Jason.
new
We
reflections.
loved him with celebrating that than his new book, and where he's just a good guy. I messaged Jason the other day. I said I hope our paths cross again, and same with you, Shane. I hope we get a chance to be physically together sometime and work together.
It's bonkers, isn't it? Listeners, like, Jim and I have known each other a few years and been doing this a few years now, but we've never met in person. We are literally opposite ends of the earth. We were nearly in touching distance earlier, earlier last year when I came over to the US, but alas, we will make it together. We're currently pestering Jim Knight. We must make it to TLC together, mustn't we? So we can
Jim Knight,
get
we'll put
together.
our show on for you in Dallas, TLC. We'll interview your
Absolutely.
keynote, your guests throughout the conference. We'll create that synergy for you.
Exactly.
Shane Knight,
Exactly.
individual guy.
I love that. I love that. So, Jim, today it would be good to kind of reflect on looking into the new year, reflect on in a very coach like way, goal setting, I guess, for the new year. Maybe we can have a discussion around that. And also just what's on our mind generally. I've seemed to have caused a bit of controversy on LinkedIn as well. We maybe can dig into some of that story as well. But, Jim, like, what's on your mind at the minute?
Well, I appreciate it. This is great to be on our show, always be on with you, Shane. And now we've got a chance to kind of think out loud. Michael Bungay's Tanya's great question. What's on your mind? And then the awe question, and what else? So I think we're going to have some of that. I love it. Well, I think it's to continue to go back to what I consider my true north. And it's not about coaching. It's about coaching done well. That Atu Gwande's quote that coaching done well may be the most important intervention for human performance. And there's a difference between coaching done well. And if we're looking at least my true north of coaching done well, includes the following. First and foremost, to advance student success and well-being. And then to give the coachee a place to do their best thinking. And ultimately, in this journey together to really, really become better versions of ourselves. And I'm motivated by our good friend Tom Sherrington's quote. If we switch from thinking, is this teacher teaching well, to which students in the class are experiencing difficulties and why, then we open our conversations up for real growth. Shane, here's my bottom line here, and I will stray from it, and you can say, Jim, you better get back to your true north here, which is fine. So, what does it look like, sound like, and feel like when we are more intentional about opening up our conversations for real growth? And I'm just going to share one thing on my mind, then I want to go back to you, and we'll go back and forth. I think we want to personally here, because this is my work too. I want to continue to cheerlead, support, and extend the invitation to reflect on your practice with video, in partner with a trained coach in a non-evaluative, confidential, and voluntary journey. Jim Knight says that we don't know what it looks like when we do what we do. That's his first simple truth. We don't know what it looks like when we do what we do. Dylan Willem, arguably the most iconic figure in formative assessment, says the difference between an effective teacher and a highly effective teacher is not what they know, but what they do. So I ask our audience out there, what do teacher after teacher tell us is their best way for them to discover what they do? Is it the principal's evaluation? Is it a long 7, 8 page document at the end of the year? Or might it be inviting them to view their own practice on video and then partner with a coach in a non-evaluative, confidential, voluntary journey? Hundreds of teachers tell us that. Hundreds of teachers tell us that. We got this thing called the Super Bowl coming, Shane, and I know this is like mania in the United States, the Super Bowl, with football. And what happens is these fabulous athletes, these are the best in the world at football. Their quarterback comes off the field after a play, after they lose the downs, and what do they do? Did they go for a drink of water and a walk around? No. You know what they do? They sit down on a bench with a coach. And what does the coach have in front of him? Video, 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 because we need to find out where we're at. I love that. Look at that in the background. That was free of charge. No extra charge for you, okay, folks? For that. So I just think I want to. I think that's something I want to invite more people to do. We use Harvard Best Foot Forward, or the selfie. You can start with just videoing some 8 minutes of your practice video, and
Mhm.
you look at it. Just you look. Don't share it with anybody. Can you discover one goal that you'd like to work on to advance student success and well-being? Goodness, my goodness, I just think that simple notion has got such huge impact. And of course, we carry it out in a lot more depth. And let me just add one more thing that I want to get back to you because I keep looking for the secret sauce to optimize the coaching conference. And from our growth coaching book on growth coaching, we had both those wonderful authors there, Chris and John. They talked about a continuum of conversations where the coachee becomes a customer for change, someone who is, as a result of the conversation, now sees a compelling need for something to change and wants to do something about it versus a top down thing from the principal. This is where you suck and this is what you need to fix up for next time. Thank you very much. Via con Dios. See you next year. I mean, I love this continuum of conversations. What does that look like where the coachee becomes a customer for change? And that's that great wisdom from growth coaching. So there's my 2 cents so far, Shane. I'd love to hear what's on your mind.
Well, I mean, first is what is on my mind is I didn't realize Jim Thompson could get more spectacular, but then fireworks appearing from behind you, Jim. How about that? Good to tell you've got your new computer this year. Jason and Ruth loving that in the comments. I think that was a favorite. I hope it didn't distract them too much from what you were saying, which was really powerful about opening up this space for people to see themselves and to see themselves, I think, as Emma has said as well, with trust, space, autonomy, safe support, which is really super important and key to me. I guess I just think it's actually quite magical what you do, Jim. And I love that you advocate so much for video. And I think some people could go, okay, well, the idea of video coaching, of recording yourself, it just sounds like a strategy. It sounds very niche. It's just one strategy. But actually, the idea that we can't see ourselves in our practice, especially as teachers, especially as leaders, because we are in go mode. And it's very difficult to watch yourself from the outside when you are deep in that go mode. So giving yourself the opportunity to watch back in some way. And the best way, I agree, that we have at our disposal at the minute is through a video, but it could be through recording the audio if you weren't comfortable. It could be through some kind of transcript or whatever. Like there are other ways to do it, but like that power of reflecting and then not using that reflection in a judgment filled way, but using that reflection in a growth filled way is so powerful. I almost feel like if people did one thing in their PD, I would advise them to get some way to hold up a mirror to their practice and just ask themselves, what does that tell you? And even better, like you say, pair that with a coach. I think super powerful. We've also got Travis joining us online. Great to have a good crowd with us. Travis says, culture, 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 agency and autonomy. Couldn't agree more. Ruth also added that the fireworks only added to the magic, Jim, which I really, really agree with. I think something else that you said, Jim, that really resonated with me is this idea of thinking of, a lot of us are thinking about goal setting, right? It's the new year. And, we have this opportunity. Emma always says to me, oh, we're so lucky because we live in China. So your New Year's resolution, if you fail that, you've got Chinese New Year a month later, so we can start again. So we've always got like these two wonderful options. But I think when we're thinking about goals, You said something. You said the teachers need to really want to do something and feel fired up to do something. And they get that when they've seen themselves and, using video. Thomas Hitchin is also online with us. He says he loves video coaching. We have got quite a crowd. Keep the comments coming in. This is awesome. But I think that point on the teachers wanting to do it is really important. It's what really grabbed me about the growth coaching model, where they talk about not just setting the SMART goals, but setting I-SMART goals, and the I being inspirational. Because if teachers might be able to set a specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-oriented goal. Boring. If we don't care about it, if it doesn't touch us, are we really going to lean into it? You've got me real thinking, Jim. This is fantastic. And just before I pass it back to you, Jason also comes in on the chat saying, I also feel that video with a trusted partner allows appreciative inquiry, collecting the explicit examples of strength. The coach provides the professional reassurance to build the bank of good. Love that, Jason. Bank of good. What do you reckon, Jim?
I second that emotion. I just second that emotion because Jim Knight in his early work, and this is part of my new, he says, what does improvement look like? I was a principal for 20 years. It does not look like giving somebody a written evaluation every year. Have a good time. I'll see you next year. And then after 30 years, you have kind of 1 year of experience 30 times versus 30 years of experience. And that's not a victimless crime, because if we're not continually helping teachers to really help advance student success, for just, cutting and pasting the previous year, deja vu all over again, then we're not really advancing anybody. And that's where teachers get burned out, why they leave
Mm.
the profession early, why they don't want to go into the profession, why leaders, I don't think, get much sustenance for that, why they get burned out. What do you think, Shane?
Well, I mean, but we were talking just before it came on, Jim, and I've got it here. I said I've been drafting an idea for a book. Like we've always got a book in our head, haven't we? So drafting an idea, thinking about some of this intensive work, but just burnout is really on my mind. And I think, cognitive overload and burnout of leaders. I've found some research that said 70% of leaders report burnout significantly hindering their decision making. Of those, actually, half said they had increased physical and mental health problems due to cognitive overload. This is recent research from 2024. This is a crisis, isn't it? It's a crisis.
Is indeed. And we just can't, I'm so glad you're surfacing this stuff, because they say denial is not just a river in Egypt. And we can't be in denial about that. I'm glad you're surfacing this, Shane. Say more about this work you're doing with these leaders, will you?
Yeah. So at the minute, Jim, this is just really, really meaningful work at the minute that I'm running this intensive program that's, already started. So this is not a pitch. We're already in there, but we've got 18 leaders from around the world on this Education Leaders Intensive. The idea is, not can I come and help leaders over the space of about 10 weeks to become the perfect leader, because we can't. Not are we going to arm them with high level strategies. Not even are we going to go through every strategy that's in our book, Change Starts Here. But actually, can we help these leaders feel a little bit less overwhelmed with that day-to-day burden that leadership brings, and B, a little bit more confident in themselves and their own capability. So the way we're doing that, we've got this lovely small cohort, 18 people. It's my full-time job for the next few months, and I'm checking in with these people every day, and we are looking at mastering some fundamentals. What are those really difficult conversations that you avoid because you haven't been able to rehearse them? What about those meetings that you'd lead with your team, where your team are rolling your eyes, something's not quite right, and you're not fully making the most of it, but you just don't have the headspace to figure it out? What about that PD schedule that you've got that is just not meeting the teachers where they are, but you just really haven't got that cognitive space to lean in and to figure it out, and you're just a bit lost, and you feel that feeling that I think all leaders have had, of just feeling a bit lost and a bit, that feeling of dread and that feeling of who's going to walk into my office next with a problem that I feel like I can't solve. These is challenging spaces. So we're looking at, very simply, how do we reduce some cognitive load that frees leaders up to have the space to lead with their authenticity, with their passion that made them go into it in the first place. That's what we're looking at the minute. That's kind of what I'm living at the minute, and it's a really good place to be living.
That is such inspiring and exciting stuff. I mean, I wish I had something like that when I started becoming a leader. It was, I was very Darwinian when I became a leader. I didn't have any help. It was just like, boy, if you make a
Mm.
mistake, boy, try to learn from it quickly and then bounce back. But Shane, let me throw something back to you. You got a controversial topic that you maybe wanted to throw. We're going to this is the part of our show today. We're putting a fox in the hen house here a little bit. Shane, you want to talk about that a little bit, and we'd share that. Let's see if we can ruffle some feathers here. Maybe who knows?
Let's give it a go. Let's give it a go because this has been interesting. Yesterday I posted something. So recently, Jim, I was at an event and I had someone fairly high profile, certainly a big stage, good audience in front of them, start to talk about that you can read people's thinking through their eye movement. Like if they look to the top right, it's that they're lying. And if they look to the bottom left, is they're thinking from this space and recalling all these different things just based on, and that if you could master that, you'd won most of the battle in your work as an educator and as a leader. And I was naturally skeptical a bit, but I didn't actually. I thought, I don't know. This is new to me, but I don't know. Could be real. So just kept quiet. But the whole room didn't necessarily keep quiet. A lot of people got quite excited about it, Jim. A lot of people were interested. Maybe he got some work after it. Who knows? But I then did a bit of research afterwards and found that this was part of something in the coaching world called neuro-linguistic programming, NLP coaching. You can get qualified as an NLP coach, and there are many coaches out there, and found out that not only that this was part of that program, but also it had been debunked by a lot of research afterwards, or at least found to not really be that effective. And what's interesting is from that same NLP research that came out in the 70s, another thing came out, which, drum roll, was learning styles. This idea that we all have learning styles and ways to learn. We might be visual learners, auditory learners, kinesthetic learners, and that all a teacher would need to do is to match that style to us. If you're a kinesthetic learner, then when you are, learning about, learning about the Roman Empire, to get them stood up and reenacting the battles or whatever is the best way to learn about them. I don't know, like, is that how it works? Well, we know that ended up being also a methodology that research didn't stand up to scrutiny in the research. And yet I have noticed when I started doing a bit of reading and looking up that NLP is seeing a rise. There are a lot more NLP coaches about. There are a lot more people doing this kind of practice. And not only that, there are a lot of knocks at school doors with NLP coaching offering their services and being hired by schools. So I was just wondering, are we at risk of letting learning styles, which caused mayhem in the UK, certainly when I started teaching, we had to give every student a questionnaire and put it on our register and know what type of learner every learner was and make sure it was in all of our lesson plans. We are at risk of bringing that back through the back door, through the coaching door, into the world of leadership. And what does that mean? Well, it's ruffled some feathers online because I think there are lots of views on this. It had 72 comments just within a day of educators coming in from people who said, wow, this is a problem. I had one teacher who said, actually, learning styles is very prevalent still in education. There's still lots of schools using it, lots of people. Some people who are saying, really? Is anyone really still talking about that? Some people saying, speaking in defense of the learning styles and of NLP, which, I don't know where I stand on it after reading it all. I'm trying to take a nuanced stance, but it does speak to this idea of, are we getting clearer on what the aims of education are? Are we getting clearer on what good teaching is, what good support is? And do we have an evidence base? I think we do have some good evidence bases in some areas. So the question is, should we be leaning into those areas that we have the best evidence, or should we be constantly trying these new things? I don't know, Jim. It's caused a bit of a, you sort of like, is you need all day to kind of scroll through all those comments and dissect it. What are you thinking?
Well, I, I think if you're doing a movie about CIA agents, or what is it in Britain? MI6 agents identifying which way your eye go, up or down or left or right. Maybe if you're a CIA agent or an MI6 agent, maybe that has some possibilities. But if we're teaching a bunch of kindergartners, they're going.
Can you imagine trying to track a 5-year-old's eye movements?
If I'm trying to track it, I'm going. First of all, I'm going to get vertigo. I'm going to get dizzy. I'm going to need a teacher to relieve me because I'm just getting frustrated. I mean, give me. You know what? I have a phrase called "Give me a break.com." Give me a break.com. At a certain point, there a certain point, there's Kool-Aid out there that is not good for us. There is good that is not good for us, and sometimes we have to. And I don't do this all the time. And we're good people. We're good heart. But now and then, what we got to do in our profession. Sometimes we got to confront. I'm intentionally using that verb, Shane. We got to confront nonsense. We get because not only does it take our time in our talk about cognitive load in our emotional, but it just don't make any sense. And teacher after teacher tell me, and not just about learning styles, but that's one of the big downsides about the PD they're getting. It's top down. They don't have any input. Nobody asks them what do you need. And it just don't work. And so what Jim Knight talked about is do you want commitment or do you want compliance? And this some of this stuff just doesn't work. It doesn't work. Like I say, the eye ball thing, that's just I don't know of any research about that. And I just cannot spend my time and energy on that because there's other stuff out there. But you bring in a pre-K teacher or a first or second grade teacher about eye rolls and where their eyes are going. I mean, it's gonna be comedy. That'd be a great sitcom for Britain, a teacher view of Seinfeld, oh, we're
Yeah.
going to do about eye rolls. I mean, give me a break. I mean, that's just my take. What do you think, Shane?
Well, I think what you said about confronting is really useful actually. And I think it links back almost. I'm thinking now of what your work in video coaching, because I think we do need to confront a lot more, not just confronting nonsense or confronting ideas, but confronting ourselves and confronting what we want as a collective, as educators. And that means getting very reflective and getting vulnerable and being willing to look at our practice and go, well, I thought this worked, but does it? And how do I check that? How can I become a bit of a scientist in my own classroom? And I wonder, if it would be useful. I remember back in the day, so I was teaching some music and talking about, and I had the learning styles register, and can you imagine? I mean, music lessons, it is audio, but I was trying to get these kind of visual and kind of kinesthetic things into my lesson. I wonder if I'd have had the chance to watch myself back through a video, and a good coach says, Shane, tell me what you saw. Tell me what they were learning. Like, tell me, let's look at that. Maybe I could have quickly worked out for myself that this something wasn't quite right. Maybe I could have worked that out. And maybe by being in it, and look, I didn't question it at the time. I just did it. Maybe being in it was the problem. Maybe there's that reflection. I've got some comments coming in here as well, Jim. We've got a lot of people listening in on this topic. We had some other comments. So Jason said he's been sense making on this topic. I tagged him into this post actually. He said, for me, learning preferences might be viewed under the lens of engagement and motivation. This is the interesting thing. It kept coming up in the thing. Learning styles to learning preferences. We all have learning preferences. It's whether you should then switch your activity based on the style that you've identified. Most of the time, the answer is no. Like the answer, like if you're teaching a football lesson and you need to get a child to learn how to dribble the ball, well, you can draw as many pictures as you want of that. But until that child has kind of used their foot to kind of have a go to see what that feels like, it's going to be a kinesthetic activity. So in that way, in that moment, the kinesthetic is the style that you really want to go for, regardless of whether the child has a preference for audio. I don't know if you're going to give them an audio book on how to dribble a ball or something like so. I think that's interesting. Jason says the motivation towards a learning goal. He said, you posed the most useful question I know, Shane. What's the learning? What's the learning? Thomas says, feels like we're getting less clear because of the diverse range of what seemed to be anecdotal evidence because of research trolled by AI. We need to be hypercritical of evidence. So right. And it's that classic, who said it? Like there's evidence for everything if you want it. And most evidence is good. I think it was John Atty who said, most things when we test them in education actually have a positive effect, but some are more positive than others. And that's the discerning factor. Great point, Thomas. We've got Travis who says the use of, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Leuven scales are an excellent tool to reflect and adapt for involvement and well-being. Oh, Travis, share us a link to some of that. Let's have a look at how we can work with that. Thomas also says, what if it was teaching style before a learning style? I think that's where a lot of people got to back then. I think you're right, Thomas. Like it's thinking about what style is appropriate for this particular piece of learning that we're doing, rather than am I going to try personalize this to the preferred learning preference of the child? It's tricky though. It's tricky. It's really complex, isn't it, Jim?
Well, you bring up a great topic, but just for another show or shows is AI. I'm seeing already, Shane, out there places where AI coaching, $10 a person for an hour. I mean, they're talking about, this is easy stuff. You can do AI. I'm looking at that. And then teachers are telling me this. Now, I don't know if happens in China. Maybe it's a more disciplined thing, but teachers are telling me this, that the kids are not focusing quickly. They don't have cognitive endurance, because one of the reasons is because of this thing right here. And we really can't get them focused really quickly, and they don't want to stay focused, and they don't, where I'm at. I want to have all kids successful with hard work, meaning success with hard work, and the hard work isn't there. And one of the things that's happening in the United States, which I cannot believe, is more and more school districts in the reading program are reading fewer and fewer real books cover to cover. And you know what they're doing? They telling me this, Shane. I say, how many books, like your fifth grade? How many real books do you read in fifth grade? Well, Jim, we get a chance to do one real book. I said, well, what do you do otherwise? Well, Jim, you don't get it. You're kind of old, man. We do excerpts. The kids are doing excerpts. I says, they're doing excerpts, not real books. Yeah, because that's what's being assessed. They're assessed. I said, this is madness. This is madness. And may I just add my old social studies piece for a minute? I was an old social study teacher. I always said that the quality of our democracy is based on an informed electorate. And doesn't part of that informed electorate mean that you engage in thinking with like books and conversation and struggle with this stuff? It's not chat GPT. I mean, so I know I'm off target here, but this is part of, and this filters into challenges for teachers and challenges for coaches. I went off target there. I apologize, but what are your thoughts?
Well, no, there's two things, and we can round this up. I mean, gosh, I could stay chatting for this for hours. This is just really wonderful. So I think the AI conversation is one we really need to have on this show, Jim. So I feel we need to get someone on as a guest who is really engaging with the AI work, especially thinking about how it links with the coaching space. So if any listeners are listening now and know of that person, let us know. And let's get that person on. Let's have this conversation. I think that's really useful. Secondly, we absolutely, just to summarize another question that came in, we moved on by this point, but from Emma to talk about, which is video coaching and a very good question that we've that many people worry about with video coaching is when you've videoed yourself, it's very human to focus on one thing you said, how weird your shirt doesn't fit right, or rather than apps, what's going on, and how do teachers step past that? I wonder, Jim, shall we do an episode soon where we focus in on video coaching? I think this would be a really powerful to spend an episode. Let's dig into what video coaching done well looks like. And I think you've got some, well, I know you have because it's in your book. You've got some great ideas on that.
I'd love to do that. And just a further extension, where I'm at with an advanced coaching group right now, in Jim Knight's definitive guide to instructional coaching, he's resolute about how coaches get better. Resolute. They need to video their coaching conference. In very
Mhm.
few places, coaches are doing that, but I'm doing that with this group of coaches right now, and they're using that as their selfie. They're videoing a coaching conference, and then they're identifying a goal from that coaching conference that they want to work on to become a better coach. So this has got a variety of pieces, but I would love to do that because I just think this is part of the secret sauce. It's not the only piece. And we just want to invite more and more people to do that. You wrote this beautiful forward, Shane, to our latest book, Video Coaching Done Well, Lessons Learned Along the Way. And it's powerful. We had Matt on our show about walkthroughs and they talk
Mhm.
about video, using video on walkthroughs. And so I'd love to kind of resurrect that sometime. Uh, we'll definitely try to get that in the show. If not this season, definitely in the fall. A lot of people want to be on our show. We've got some big lineups coming up, but I'm rambling. If we're going beyond our time, I'll let you wrap things up, Shane.
Well, we have got a lot of great episodes ahead, but we will get those in. I just want to say thank you. I'm looking here because we've got LinkedIn open. Thank you to all who have joined us. Emma, we've got Ruth, Jason, Travis, Ola. Ola's also been listening in. We've got Thomas. We've got, oh my God, and we've got Everett who's joined us as well. Thank you so much for coming in with your comments. What a absolute delight. This is what we want this conversation to be, a conversation with people doing the real work in real schools, real settings with real people. And this is just an absolute pleasure. Jim, I've had such a delightful 40 minutes. Thank you so much for sharing this time with me.
Well, the pleasure is mine, this idea of carpe diem, seizing every day. Times do not go gentle into that good night. And that's what we want to be there with folks who are the kind of people who are not going gentle into that good night. And we want to have your back and we want to walk with you and we want to be with you. And it's such a delight to be with you, Shane. What a lead learner you are internationally, and then have this growing international fan base of people who are totally committed to advancing student success and well-being. It's a privilege.
What an honor, Jim. So let's leave it there. We'll see you next time in a few weeks' time for the next episode of Coaching Done Well. But whether you're joining us live, thank you so much. It's been absolutely gorgeous. Or whether you're joining us on the podcast, so maybe you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts afterwards. It's been great to have you here, and we hope to have you join us again next time. Have a great week and weekend, everyone.
Cheers.